Anunnaki, creator gods, makers, models, and manipulators. How do you make this thing advance? Do I click this and it advances? I'm going to try now to advance this. I clicked it.
There you go. It's a little bit slow.
As you can see from the screen, the Anunnaki came for gold. They added Homo erectus genes to their genome, and they made slaves. That's us. They tried to drown us in Noah's flood. After the flood, they reclaimed the earth and ruled through Noah's sons. And through Noah's sons, they gave us civilization, made us fight each other. And they even nuked and radiated their Middle Eastern space facilities and left most of the earth to Prince Marduk. And now we're waiting for the slide to change.
There it goes.
So my teacher, Zecharia Sitchin, was able to read clay tablets and cylinder seals that the Anunnaki dictated, and the Sumerians around after 2016 BCE wrote for them. And these were about the events that went on from 500,000 years ago right up to now. And here's a picture of my teacher, Zecharia Sitchin, with a blow up of one of those slides. And this is a very famous one. As you can see, where I've made a circle around this star chart, it's got all Nibiru and all the planets, which they couldn't have possibly seen with their naked eyes because they didn't have telescopes then. And here's the way they made these little things. First of all, they pushed the stylus into tablets. That's one way they did it. And they also rolled these little cylinder seals over clay, and they made things that way. Here's a thing of the cylinder seals. In '76, Sitchin published The 12th Planet, and it totally revolutionized the studies. And basically, he showed everything that Enki, the great scientist of the Anunnaki, had written, and he brought it all together in this book, The Lost Book of Enki. The tablets show that there's a sun-centered solar system. The planets in the way they showed them are the right size, the right orbit, and this was way beyond the time that before Copernicus ever said the Earth went around the sun, and way before there was a telescope to be used. Here's a close-up of Nibiru with a red question mark. And here is a very famous cylinder seal. It shows people how to rocket into Earth without smashing into stuff. Here's a drawing of what they says when to turn, when to slow down. Now let's go back to their homeworld. Where did they come from? Nibiru goes around the subdwarf star. It's called Nemesis. It's 48 astronomical units from Earth. It crosses the inner solar system each 3,600 years, and recently it's sped up to every 3,450 years. The tablets proved that the Anunnaki who dictated them saw the solar system from beyond the Sumerians' sight. Here's what it looks like when Nibiru is incoming, as it is now. And where it comes to, it doesn't really ever go around our sun. Nibiru goes between Jupiter and Mars, where the proto-Earth used to be. And then it goes on around and far away, 48 astronomical units, and circles Nemesis. Now, long time ago, millions of years ago, Nibiru knocked Tiamat into orbits and knocked the asteroids into their orbits. So the asteroids, when Nibiru knocked Tiamat, that's the proto-Earth, it left the asteroids between Jupiter and Mars and knocked us between Venus and Mars. So first the moon of Nibiru, known as the North Wind, and then Nibiru itself is what hit the proto-Earth, as you can see in this drawing. Here's another picture of what the collision might have looked like from space. More pictures of it. Nibiru gouged a hole in Tiamat, and that hole became the Pacific Basin. Nibiru, the asteroids, and the meteorites go around and around. and they exchange energy. In 9703 BCE, Nibiru crossing tilted Uranus. It came too close, and that's what sped Nibiru up to an orbit of 3,450 years. The Avebury crop circle shows this exactly. They're trying to communicate with us. Now, what was going on in Nibiru and the culture that the Nibiruans brought to us here on Earth gave us the scripts that we still live by. Nibiruans developed a high civilization. They had come from the Lyran group and the Pleiadian group, and they had wars, and it all ended in a great big North-South war where they were shooting nukes at each other. And most of the guys, here's their couple of their commanders, they either wore these helmets, eagle helmets, or they somehow got their morphology to look like this. They had a terrible, terrible war. Most of the men were sterile or killed. A lot of the women were sterile too. The survivors had a truce, and they gave Nibiru a king who was a military dictator. And the North and South had a lottery. North won. A king named An, A-N, ruled by decree. He appointed people to govern. This was a military dictatorship, and that's why the model on Earth is military dictatorship. Yes, Jack? The capital An built was called Agade, and there's an artist's idea of what it might have looked like. They used power. They got their power from pyramids, where they generated power, and they transmitted it by monoliths. They powered their crafts with it. Nibiru's atmosphere came to get worse. It got worse and worse. About 600,000 years ago, the volcanoes of Nibiru, which had been giving ash and sort of covering the ozone, left a big hole in the ozone because there was no more volcanoes going off. And Nibiru got very, very cold as it went through space, and very, very hot when it got near Solaris, our sun, and Nemesis. There's a volcano. Nibiru's king Lama, the guy that was king at the time, even though his advisors told him, why don't you try nuking the volcanoes again? That might work. Or if that doesn't work, float some gold powder up, and that'll seal the hole in the ionosphere, maybe. And they were going to make white powder of monoatomic gold. They said that would float up really well. Well, Lama didn't do it. So a prince said, we're all going to die unless I do something. So he threw Lama off the turret of his castle. And rather than the regular guy that should have been king after Alalu was a person named Anu. But Alalu said to Anu, look, have your son Enki, the great scientist, marry my daughter Damkina, and whoever their kid is, he can be king after I'm gone, after I'm no longer king. There's Damkina, the daughter. She's known on Earth as Ninki. And here's the son of Anu. His name is Enki. He's also known as Ta in Egypt. He's known as Ea, Lord of the Earth, known as Soidan. He's known as Adonai in the Bible. Anu broke the daughter Nimah's engagement to Enki so that Enki would be able to marry Damkina. And so he did. And they had a kid. In the meantime, Nimah, who had been his fiancée, had a child with Enlil, the legal heir to Anu. And they had a child named Ninurta, who's going to be a very important player. And here's Nimah. Another picture of Nimah, a couple of pictures. She's also known on Earth as Ninharsag. In Egypt, she's known as Hathor. And here's the guy she had Ninurta with, Enlil, known on Earth as Yahweh. So Anu took the second post to King Alalu. He was cupbearer, so the king could keep a good watch on him. And there's the king, Alalu, on the right, and Anu as a young man on the left. And there's another depiction of Alalu and Anu. Well, Alalu nuked the volcanoes, but that did not work. It did not give enough of a shield. He sent a rocket to Earth. Their instruments and their knowledge said that there's gold on the Earth, but this rocket full of people hit an asteroid. Everybody got killed. Finally, Anu couldn't take this anymore, and he challenged Olalu to a fight. They wrestled naked in Agade, right in the middle of the town, and it was quite a wrestling match. These are really big guys. I mean, these are like 12 to 18 foot tall people here on Nibiru. And there's the fight, the depiction of the fight, and Anu won. Well, Olalu, remembering that he killed the king before, snuck off and got in one of the nuke-armed rockets, and he went to Earth. He could escape there. He landed on a marsh near Basra, which is on the Persian Gulf. Here's a little map of that, right there. Now, waiting for the slide to change. Perhaps I'll click it again and see if that does anything.
Give it a second, it's circling.
Now, here we go.
Okay, hold on. You're somehow out.
It seems like the slides have dropped out.
Oh, I don't know what happened. Click it again. Oh, click again. Excuse me.
Well, this is playing with the slides. Let me, if I'm still live, let me tell you that
Yeah, you're still live.
Basra is way inland from where Olalu had landed, because there was a big marsh that went right into what's now the Persian Gulf. Next.
Okay, let me try to do this. Hold on. Okay. Let me go back. Okay. Oh, here's back.
There's back.
There's back. Hold on. Okay.
So here.
Okay, so there's forward there. Here we go. Right there's your forward back.
So here's the kind of place that Olalu landed. Olalu then messaged Nibiru. He said, "On Earth I have gold to save Nibiru, or I have missiles to blast it, unless you give me back my crown." Well, the military council sent Enki. Now this was a good move, because Enki was the son-in-law of Olalu. He was also Anu's son. Maybe he could mediate between them. He brought 50 men, and his pilot was a guy, a very important actor.
I'm fixing something. Hold on. Keep talking.
Named Anzu. He sent them to the Persian Gulf.
Okay, try to get our picture back.
So Enki, because he was Anu's son and Olalu's son-in-law, was the one that could mediate between them. Now, Olalu had used nukes to blast through the asteroids. Enki was against the use of nukes in space. I guess all the skyfaring people had problems with that. And he was using the water of his craft. He made a water cannon. He was blasting the asteroids out of the way. Anzu, the pilot, said, "Hey, you know what? This ship is overheating. The water's depleted. The engine's gonna fail. We better do something." Next.
Okay, hold on one second. For some reason we have Neil showing. Maybe it's okay. I don't know. It's supposed to be showing you there. So
Next.
Don't worry about it, guys.
okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Enki said, look, there's Mars. Our instruments say there's lots of water on Mars. Let's go there. And sure enough, they went to Mars. They landed it right next to this lake. They got the water for the ship. They found they could drink the water. There was oxygen on masks on Mars, but not enough that they could do without oxygen masks. So they had oxygen masks. Next. So Enki and his 50 men then went on to Earth. And Enki was able to mollify his father-in-law. And Olalu said, "Hey, cool, you're Earth's commander. Next. Enki and the crew made the camp, and the 6 days where they were working to make their camp, and then they rested on the 7th day. Here we have Shatner's crew showing what it's like to do landfall. They were very kind to pose for us. So Enki and his pilot, a guy named Abgal, when Anzu was away and couldn't see what they were doing, snuck into Lalu's rocket, and they got the nuclear missiles, and they flew them down to a cave in Africa. And only now, Enki and Abgal knew where these nukes were, and they're going to be very important in the story. And this is a depiction of pilot Abgal. You'll see why later on that he becomes a traitor. Go ahead. Well, when Anzu saw that the missiles had been removed from his kinsman's Alalu's ship, he said, "Hey, this is no good. Where the heck are the missiles?" Enki said, "You're fired. I ain't telling you." And Enki then sent his pilot, his personal pilot, back to Nibiru with the gold samples he'd taken from the Persian Gulf. It was in the water. Next. Here's a depiction of Anzu. He's going to be a very important player. He was the pilot of Enki's ship coming here, and he's going to get lots of jobs here. Anyway, Enki fired him. Enki sent Abgal back, and this is how they depict it. There's Earth on one side, Nibiru on the other, the ship going across, the dots above the person on Earth. It shows that it's Earth with Earth's moon, and there's dolphins there, and they're going to Nibiru. Next. And while Abgal is going back, Enki built a sky chamber, we would call a Vimana, and he traced where these gold flecks were coming from, and he found they were coming to big veins of gold in the south of Africa. Next. He used a radioactive device while he was there, and there's a depiction of this radioactive device. He was probing for both gold and platinum. Well, while this was happening, Enlil was saying, "Hey, you know, I don't trust Enki. I think he's faking it about how much gold there is. You should send me. I should be in charge of this expedition. And, you know, after all, I am your heir." So Anu said, "Oh, okay, go. Next." Here's our depiction of Enki and Enlil. "Don't believe Enki, Dad. He says gold has more, Earth has more gold than it really does. Send me. I'll get the truth." Next. So there he goes. There's Enlil. He's flying to Earth. He's going to boss his older brother, who isn't the heir, Enki. He's going to boss Enki around. At Basra, Enki and Enlil are arguing with each other about who's in charge. Finally, Anu heeded their pleas, and he himself rocketed to Earth. He's going to establish a chain of command, and he's going to deal with Alalu once and for all. Here's a depiction of here comes Anu. Next. So Anu, Enlil, and Enki drew to see who would be ruler of Nibiru, who would be ruler of Earth, and who would be ruler of the seas and mining. Anu, of course, got the straw that let him be king of Nibiru. Enlil, his heir, got command of Earth. And Enki got rule of the seas, the mining operations in Africa. We think that Anu cheated. Oh, Alalu got enraged. Here's a picture of the drawings. Next, another depiction of the drawing. Alalu jumped up and he said, "Anu, let's fight again for kingship." Well, once again, Anu won. Next, there they are fighting. But Alalu did not just let himself lose again. He jumped up and he bit off Anu's penis. Anu, wounded, took the rocket back to Nibiru, and en route he dropped Alalu off to die on Mars. Anzu, who was with him, said, "Look, this is my kinsman. Let me stay with him until he dies." And Anu was pretty impressed by Anzu. Next. So Anu, after he got back to Nibiru and he was healing, he sent rockets so they could take lots of gold from Earth to the moon and to other planets and satellites where they would be transshipped to Nibiru. Anu sent his daughter too, Nimma, and 50 doctors to Earth. And Anu told Princess Nimma, on Mars stop. If Anzu lives, to him give men, to there a base start. So he's going to start a base. And here's a depiction of Nimma and her doctors. She has this umbilicus cutting cord right in the middle. Next. On Mars, Nimma saw that Alalu was indeed dead, and she ordered his head statue at a place we now call Sindonia. And that's Sindonia, before NASA painted it over, was Nimma's monument to King Alalu, and they have his helmet pushed back so he's facing Earth. Next. Nimma left Anzu, who she revived, and 20 men to start Mars Basin.